Oh man, I'm having issues tonight. Evening, gentlemen. Jason, Santa Fe Bob. Welcome aboard. I'm a little early. That's okay. Former military. You know, early is on time is late, and if you're late, you're really late. So, well, supposedly we've got 7 people in here so far. We'll see. And if you're wondering what I'm looking at, I actually have through my provider, I actually have a TV that's pulling YouTube. So I'm able to see what's going on. Of course, it doesn't show the chat, which doesn't help. But you know, hey Jerry, hey John. Let's see what's going on. PNN. Oh, it's the same old, same old. Just another Sunday hanging out with Ray. Just another Sunday. Hey, welcome aboard, Heath. Humanity Junction. All right. You like that? And I'm sure you've probably figured it out by now, but I'm a Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Ohio, Chesapeake, Ohio, Western Maryland, among others. Cool. I got this when I was when it was up when I went to Horseshoe Curve last year with Sparky and the gang. So I saw the shirt and I was like, "Yep, I got to get me one of those." I got to get me one of those. So I had thought about getting the green one, but I thought, nah, I like the. I've always been more partial to the Tuscan instead of the Brunswick. Yep, yep, yeah. Horseshoe Curve. What was that? That was in middle of May last year. We went up to Steamtown, and then we left Steamtown and took the 3 hour drive down to the Horseshoe Curve, and I took another 3 hour drive home from there. But yeah, the correct color. Oh, you know the thing that it's funny because folks have actually asked me in the past, and this was a question that came up a few years back because of all the collecting stuff and that people were doing with the heritage units that came from that Norfolk Southern, and of course eventually the Northern or the Union Pacific started doing. If I had any locomotives that I was still looking for, and I have one Pennsylvania locomotive that I'd love to get my hands on, but I don't think I'll ever be able to get a hold of it. And that one was the Pennsylvania GG1 that they nicknamed the Blackjack. And anybody who's familiar with the Pennsylvania Railroad and the GG1s, the reason why Blackjack, believe it or not, before Penn Central and Amtrak took over, uh, Blackjack was the only GG1 that was painted black. And the reason being is the numbers for that particular locomotive added up to 21. So that one of these days I'm going to own a replica of Blackjack. So, but that's down the road. That's going to be a way down the road, I have a feeling. So I've got 8 people according to this, and of course I know one of them is my TV, which I think I'm just going to stop because it's not doing what I thought it would do. That kind of sucks. Like I was kind of hoping that the TV would show me the chat as well, but it's not. So that kind of defeats the purpose. I believe it is, Jerry. I believe that particular GG1 is actually sitting. In fact, you know what? I have a picture of it from Strasbourg a few years back. That one is sitting in Strasbourg. Yeah, that one is the blackjack is sitting in Strasbourg, which is a perfect place for it. So yeah, there's there's one on eBay for 122. Okay, well, you know what? I think when I was up there, I think it was inside, but that's been a couple of years ago. That's the one, 49.35. That's blackjack. 1360. Yep, 21. Yep. Yep. And that stinks that they put it outside because I know I'm almost certain when I was up there a couple of years ago, it was it was inside. I know that they've done well. I know that they had some work done to it at one point in time, but obviously, and I know that the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum down here, where I'm from, actually has. I think I think at one point in time they had 3 or 4 of them. We can wait while you go buy it. That's okay, Heath. Right now, I don't have the cash flow to do that. Thanks for looking out for me, though. Hey, welcome aboard, Joe. Um, anyway, I was saying the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum, I think has a couple of them. The last time I was down there, they had one that they were in the process of finishing the restoration on. And when I was talking to the fellow, they were taking the other 3 and trying to make one good one to have it sent someplace else. It may have been going up to it may have ended up going to Altoona, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Unfortunately, Altoona was not something that I got a chance to go do that last year when I went up to Steamtown. Hey, Dwayne. Yeah, well, yep. John, I don't know if they are or not. I haven't really been paying attention. I've been extremely busy with other things. So I don't know if that opened or if the streetcar museum opened, which is with the streetcar museum is actually in the old one of the old buildings that belonged to the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad. Hey, Grandpa Rails, JD, welcome aboard. All right. So anyway, I know that actually a couple of folks asked. Um, what's what's going on, John? Oh, welcome aboard, Model Railer. Oh man, yeah, there's a face I haven't seen in a while, or actually a name I haven't seen in a while. Oh, so they did open, Joe. That's cool. See, that's one of the things. Once things clear up here a little bit, Joe and I have got to find a mutual spot to talk, man, because him and I aren't too far apart. He's in the next town over. I'm not standing. Actually, I'm sitting here. I'm actually sitting here at the bar. or what will become the dispatcher station. I didn't get around to doing what I wanted to today, but get around to. Uh, yeah, I'm sitting on a bar stool. Yeah, if you see behind me, there's a couple of them actually. Uh, Sorry for the quick movement, but yeah, there's a couple of old bar stools sitting down here in the old bar. So, but actually, right back here, right behind the corner here, is the dispatcher station. I think I've talked about that in a couple of my videos. Um, yeah, I've got my drink at the bar, no alcohol. uh, so, yeah, this is where the new dispatch station. Actually, right back here is where the power pack sits. When I was doing in that one blog, I talked about the dispatcher station. The power pack and the switches for that are back here. Eventually, I'll have my computer over here and a couple other things, but I didn't get to that this week. I was hoping to get to it yesterday and today, but it just didn't work out that way. I had some other things. I had some other things going on. So, what's on tap for tonight? Well, really nothing because I don't drink per se. Um, my daughter does cook, and a couple of the things that are back there are used for cooking. But um, as far as tonight's live stream, I've had a couple. Nice one, Bob. I've had a couple of folks this week in a couple of the comments. As you know, I finally finished working on the Walters 90-foot turntable. The weird thing is the electrical part of it works fine. You know, the track part, which is the part that I was having issues before. Well, now all of a sudden this afternoon I was down here messing around and I'm having a hard time with the mechanical side of the thing where it's not turning. I have to kind of help it along to go ahead and get the locomotives to move. But since I told folks that that was going to be one of the things we're going to work on or we were going to take a look at tonight and try to explain a little deeper, I'm going to do that. Also, it's going to be a part of vlog 27. I can't believe I'm getting ready to do, or I'd already started doing vlog 27 for this year. That's insanity. But I'm going to go ahead and swing the camera here, and we're going to take a look at I'm waiting for things to catch up here to make sure I got a good focus on this. There we go. That'll work. Maybe. Let's come back this way a little bit. Yeah. Let's see what that looks like. Pay no attention to the man behind the camera. I'm going to try and do it this way. I just not only turned the camera, but I turned the computer screen around too, which isn't going to work because it's going to be in the way. All right. Hey, Sparky. Welcome aboard. All right. So here we are at the aforementioned pain in the butt turntable. Now, one of the other things you're going to notice here is that there is a GP20 sitting out here. That actually came in. I went ahead and I ran an operation session last night. I was hoping to get through the first half of it. And unfortunately, I only got, after 2.5 hours, I ended up one step short. And, well, that's where it ended last night. So where we're at right now is we're in Beauville, and we had the southbound come in after it switched the Atlantic Copper and Brass and the RBC distribution company. So what's going to happen here, if it'll cooperate, first off, the GP20 is going to make its way to the diesel servicing facility, which isn't built yet. Let me make sure I've got everything lined up, and everything looks good. So now he's going to come in. And one of the things I actually did fix this week is, as I mentioned, I had forgotten about the track reversing switch. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. So here it is right now. This GP20 is facing in the wrong direction if I wanted all the locomotives facing towards the bridge. Now, the way that this works is every one of these, or the whole yard, the exterior rail is a red rail, the interior rail is a black rail. So think of it that way. So you get, because I'm DC, you got positive and negative. So you get a red rail and a black rail. You get a positive rail and a negative rail. Okay? The way that the bridge is set up, it's set up the same way with the turntable house to the, I guess you want to say it's on, let's say turntable house is on the negative side. It's on the black rail. So, with that being said, because of the fact that this is actually facing in the wrong direction, when we go and pick him up, if we want to put him in facing forward, all right, I have to come over here to the panel and I put in this switch. Now all this switch does is takes the negative and the positive and flips them. And I have to do that now because when he backs onto this track, it's negative here, positive here. If I would have left this track the way it was, I would have had reverse polarity. The locomotive would just sit there and go back and forth. So hopefully the turntable cooperates with me, because those that missed it, I've been having problems now with the mechanical side of this thing for some reason. It's not acting the way it's supposed to. So we're going to go counterclockwise here, hopefully. And I've got to turn on that track. And it's actually number 4. Yeah, here we go. It skipped and then it caught. I'm not sure what's causing. I'm not sure what's causing the mechanical problem with this thing now. Come on. Okay. All right, let me line this back up. And hopefully, there you go. So that's all it was. That's all this switch over here on the panel does, is turns the polarity so that now this is the positive rail and this is the negative rail. So like I said, it's actually flipping the polarity on the bridge. So that way you can bring that locomotive in facing out of what would be a stall. Of course, I don't have the stalls yet, but that's beside the point. So now I can switch that back to normal, but that's not the only thing. I've done that a couple of times already. Turn a roundhouse off, right? So now I can bring the yard switcher in and start making the switching moves to get this inbound train cleaned up and out of the way to make up the outbound, which is actually a northbound train. So I just had a southbound come in, so then I would go in here and I would build up, and I'm not going to do that right now. Come on. Oh, let's turn the power back off. Operator error. just stopped on the switch. So what I've got to do here, though, is I've got to get this one here, got to get that caboose far enough past that I can actually get the switch locomotive down there so I can actually take apart the train. Nope, not that far. All right. Oh, come on. I found a dead spot in the rail back here. Runaway car. And like I said, I was just messing with this. So I mean, there's other things that have to be set up for this, but oops, helps to switch to switch. So like I said, at this point, the yard switcher would continue to break down the train, and then he would go ahead and start setting up the next outbound. But like I said, we're not going to sit here and go through that whole thing because it takes too long. So we'll go back over this direction. And I'm actually going to try to get us a little bit closer to the bar because I want to explain a little bit more on, sorry if this thing moves too quick or anything. I'm just trying to get myself into a slightly better position here. Mr. Rick Bailey, the new daddy for the third time. Because I know I've had a lot of questions on exactly what I did to fix the electrical problem on that turntable. So we'll talk about that a little bit better. Exactly, Heath. This is what's on the other side of the stairs. This is when I usually do my live streams, and in fact, the one that we did the last time, Sidetrack Sunday number 3, when I did that from what I call the north end of the layout. This is the part that you don't see down here. This here, and for those that are new, this area down here is called Beauville. This is one end of the layout. As you see, we've got a pair of passenger trains sitting over here. Let me go ahead and stand up a second and try to explain for those that may not know. What I have set up here, these outer 2 tracks are run by. These are your, for lack of a better term right now, these are your freight mains. The outermost one is the southbound, the inner one is the northbound. Then the next set of tracks is your southbound passenger. Eventually there will be a Union Station. I've got a model of Union Station that will sit over top of these tracks. So you'll have 2 storage tracks for southbound, 2 storage tracks for the northbound. Normally at any one time, there's only going to be 2 trains sitting in here, one for the north, one for the south. So these 2 are your southbound, and then these 2 are your northbound. And there'll be a backdrop that goes down the center of this, so you won't see this side of the layout from the other side. And eventually, once you get to the back side of this, then the whole back side you wouldn't be able to see either. There's a reason for that, and that's to create the illusion that the railroad is actually going someplace and not just going around in circles. Which is one of the things that I've brought up and you've seen in the past is this layout has got the two operation modes. It's got operation mode where I can actually, from the two hidden yards, we can run trains north and south and actually have them either just transfer from the north yard to the south yard to the north yard, or be able to hit the Whitehurst Industrial Railroad, the Atlantic Copper and Brass Company, and the RBC Distribution, which all will eventually at some point hit Beauville Yard. Now, Beauville Yard, which isn't completely done yet either, will eventually on this edge of the Homosoke, there'll be a warehouse that sits back here. And anybody that's familiar with Baltimore, Maryland, and has watched baseball knows that Camden Yards, the baseball stadium, actually sits on top of what used to be the Baltimore and Ohio Yard in downtown Baltimore. That warehouse, I'm going to attempt to make a replica sort of that warehouse, and that's where I'll have the refrigerator cars and the box cars come in to do transfer of goods. So that's the whole purpose, besides the fact that, this is a classification yard, really is what this is. You'll have the cars that come in, they'll get sorted, and then they'll be put in the new trains, and they'll either go north back to Harrisburg after they stop at Whitehurst Hill or Whitehurst Industrial, or they'll leave here and they'll go to Richmond. And actually, the next train out goes from here the Whitehurst to Harrisburg. The next train after that actually comes up from Richmond, drops cars off, and then turns around and literally leaves and goes back to Richmond. So that one there, I guess for lack of a better term, that one there would be called a turn. So it comes in, does its thing, and then leaves. Or it comes in, picks up cars, and then heads right back out. So that one there is going to be, I'm fascinated to see how that one actually works, because I actually haven't done that one yet. That one there was an afterthought, and it was literally like, oh heck, I forgot that I'm supposed to have some way of getting cars in here to be able to feed the Whitehurst Industrial Railroad. So, oops. So that's what it is. The trolley at the bend. Well, yeah, no, not for what I'm doing, Sparky. No, not for what I'm doing. This is something completely different. The trolley car, and if you picked up on the fact that there's 3 trolley cars down here, eventually, and in fact, the funny thing of it is Hot Rod Rodney's gotten me on this one a couple of times. I actually want to put 15-inch radius over top of the passenger tracks to run the street cars and the trolley. Anthony Dodge, the model train outsider. That's a new subscriber. Welcome aboard, sir. I'm glad you're on. I got a chance to catch Mr. Anthony on Friday, and if anybody is interested, you have to check Anthony out. This is one of those few times I actually remember to do a shout out, because of the fact that like I said, I just happened to catch him on Friday. He models Germany. He's an American model railroader modeling Germany, and his Markland set that was nice, Anthony. I'm glad I got a chance to hang out with you on Friday for a little bit. That was impressive. You didn't do anything, Hot Rod. You and I were talking about I was talking about the 15-inch radius that'll be on top of the railroad over here for the streetcars eventually. That's the next step after I get finished testing the railroad out and putting down the rest of the road bed. That'll be that's the next phase, is to get the second deck built. Well, I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it. I will see about getting I'm not sure if one of the moderators can pick up on that or not, and get him taking a look at. That way they can go ahead and check out Mr. Dodge. So anyway, yeah, streetcars. You have to remember, Jerry, that this layout is supposed to depict 1950 to 1970. Obviously, the area. It's okay, Hot Rod. It's all good. You know, again, for those that may be joining for the first time, and I'm sorry if you're looking at the side of me. I'm looking at the screen, and I should be looking at the camera. I have a bad tendency of doing that. This layout is set between 1950 and 1970. The railroad, the Beauville and Newtown, obviously gets its name from the town of Beauville, and up on the north end is Newtown. Both of them are plays on Beauville's a play on my last name, and Newtown is a play on my mother's maiden name. The layout really has a lot of family history in it. In fact, the piece of plywood that's actually up underneath here was a part of the railroad that my grandfather built for my father back in 1950. There's the reason why I hit 1950 to 1970. The railroad's purpose is that it is a bridge route between Richmond, Virginia, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, neither of which are actually modeled on the railroad. They are only there by name. They actually are represented by two hidden staging yards up on the other side of the steps here. Unfortunately, the tether on this webcam is not long enough, and it's the only webcam I've got. Sorry. Eventually I'll get more sophisticated and put up more cameras. I haven't gotten there yet. I've only been doing live streams. What was it, Sparky? I think you and I talked about me doing this back in, I guess it was February before everything broke out. And then once everything happened, it was like, you know what? This is a great way for folks to see what's going on with this thing as I'm building it. I literally started this August of last year. A lot of what's underneath of here, as far as bench work goes, was repurposed from a 13-foot by 11-foot layout that I had up until the time I moved last year, which is one of the reasons why this thing came together so quick. Everything that's on here, for the most part, has been repurposed from that old layout. Pardon me. There is a town in Newtown, or in Pennsylvania. Yep, it's north of Philly. Very good catch there, Heath. Yeah, you're right. There you go, Sparky. There you go. So that's, and the other part of this is the fact that the Beauville and Newtown, and it just so happens, I'm going to catch that for this, but what the hey. The Beauville and Newtown is also a subsidiary of, or its parent railroad is the Chesapeake and Ohio, or is the Chessie system, which is one of the reasons why the locomotives are painted this color. And right now, this is the only locomotive that's painted for the home road. And it was airbrushed. Oh man, I think I figured this out. I think it was airbrushed like 30 years ago. It was my first airbrushing experiment, and it's held up this long. I figure that's pretty good. But again, talking with family history, and unbeknownst to me, when I actually came up with the color scheme, that it's the same colors that the Chessie system used. Obviously different ways of doing it, but that's the same color scheme. But the color scheme that's on there happens to represent the high schools that my brothers and I and my father and my grandfather went to. So anyway. Oh, Sparky. Oh boy. Anyway, okay. I see that there's been some of the moderators are putting up the link to Mr. Anthony Dodge. Like I said, I appreciate that. Let's see. Well, Anthony, believe it or not, but there's, like I said, there's a lot. And if you get a chance, and anybody else who's just joining or just subscribing to me, if you get the chance, there is a folder that is actually chronicling, I guess the best way to put it, the new build, which started, like I said, last August, and how I've gotten to this point. And every time I do a new vlog, which at this point seems to be just about every week, that's going to be changing here shortly because I've got some things coming up, and I may not be able to do these as often as I have been. But if you get a chance to watch that, that'll give you a pretty good idea as to how I got where I'm at now. So doesn't carbon paper deflect X-ray? What did I miss? Okay. Anyway, oh, they're talking about sneaking across the border. Santa Fe, Bob. I mean, this thing, and then it's funny too. You know, when I started this thing, and I got to where, like I said, I got to where I am, and actually earlier this year, somebody had made mention, you're moving awfully quick. Well, like I said, a lot of this was repurposed from what I had, so I didn't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. I was able to move forward at a fairly decent pace. Now I'm to the point where I'm basically testing out theories. I'm testing out the track work to make sure that everything is working the way it's supposed to. Before I start actually, none of this is glued down. It's tacked down. I mean, I've got spikes in it, but it's not glued down yet. It's still rather flexible out here. The tracks are, for the most part, are soldered together except for at the switches and the crossovers. I didn't do those, and that was done on purpose. Anybody that's been in the hobby for any length of time will tell you that eventually a switch, because it's a mechanical piece, will go bad. And I unfortunately have found that out as I was building this thing that I had switches that went bad. So anyway, I'm a little bit off, but that's fine. This is typical. That's the reason why we call it Sidetrack Sunday, because I will get sidetracked. There's no question that by the end of the night, we will go off on 5 or 6 different tangents at a minimal. Anyway, I did kind of explain this. I think it was in vlog 26, which came out after I had done the part 2 of the Walther's turntable rebuild. And I'm going to try to show this on this camera, which I'm not sure it's going to work, but we're going to give it a shot. I'm not taking that thing back apart just to show everybody what I did. So I'm going to use some stand-ins here. We're going to use some props. Okay. This was the original setup. If you can imagine, underneath that bridge, there's an axle. That axle had these 2 brass rings and the wires that fed up to the tracks. There's an insulator that sits between the 2 of them. And what Walthers did in their wonderful infinite wisdom is they had these 2 brass wipers that fed to that got their track, or got the power from the power pack. And of course, this is hard as heck to hold together. Okay. And that's how the track power got up to the track. So you had the power pack feeding into here, and then it would feed across these brass wipers, these brass rings, and then up to the track. Well, if you see, I mean, I've got them somewhat separated here, but on the original piece, they were literally on top of one another. I mean, there was no gap between them, which meant that depending on how this thing was riding, they would either open up or they would close up and you'd end up with a short. What I ended up doing is I ended up going ahead and finding, and I put it into that vlog, or actually into the part 2, I found sealed bearings. Now, they had to be able to fit around that axle, and you had to have a way of connecting the wires. So what I did, and I didn't bother soldering wire onto these because these are spares. These are 10 millimeter internal diameter, 5 millimeter high, 19 millimeter outer diameter sealed bearings. What I did is I soldered wire to the outside of them that feeds to the power pack, and then on the inside with an insulator in between, we ran a wire up through the axle up to the track. That fixed that intermittent electrical problem that I was having with the track power. It was driving me nuts for about 15 years as to why, you would move a locomotive across there and all of a sudden it would just lose connectivity. It would just stop. And it's like, I know it's working. And if you move the table just a little bit, all of a sudden the locomotive would start moving. So it was like, okay, there's something going on underneath. Where did the pencil go? Yeah. So it might be a. Oh boy. Yeah, the normal cast of characters is in here. I'm gonna move the camera because I think show and tell is pretty much done now. We can just go into just in the normal comments, so I can actually watch this and. Oh man. Yeah, we were talking about the turntable, Jerry. Yeah, so and folks, Jason W has a valid point here, and because I'm not DCC, I don't know if what I did is going to help him out or not, and I don't know if the 130 footers are set up any different than the 90 footers. Like I said, with this one here, the power came from underneath. That there's actually a tub that the motor and the axle and all that sits in. So that's how it gets its power. I don't know if the 130s are done the same way, and the reality is if the bearings are going to work for you, Jason. I just don't know. I would imagine it would. And the thing is you wouldn't have, if you are getting power from underneath and not on the turntable itself, because I know there are certain turntables out there where there's a rail that circles the inside, and that's where it picks up the power from. And of course, at one point it's in one polarity, and then eventually it'll switch to a different polarity. Thanks, Rick. Everybody's liking my shirt tonight. But like I said, Jason, I mean, there's folks in here that are obviously a lot more DCC savvy than I am. I'm not, because I'm still DC. But yeah, that was a Sharpie. Yeah, that it's a Sharpie. You caught that, Heath. And I'm not sure that was a number. Yeah, it is a number 2. It is a number 2 pencil. So, like I said, I don't know if the bearing thing is going to work for you, Jason. It depends on where the track power comes from, if it's coming from that axle or if it's coming from some sort of track power on the in that pit. So for 23, yeah, pretty much, Jerry. Yeah, I got that at Horseshoe Curve when I was up there last year. Thank you, Grandpa Rails. I appreciate that. DC makes it easier. Power on to turn it, reverse, and go the other. To a point, I think so, Sparky. The big thing the big thing that I'm noticing with some of, like I said, with some of these turntables, and I think it's one of the things that Jason's run up against, is when the turntable's spinning, it's getting its polarity reversed automatically, which in DCC it shouldn't be an issue, because the reality is it's AC current to begin with, which means it's constantly changing direction. So it shouldn't be a problem. But it just, like I said, it's nice one, Anthony. Boy, he catches on quick. Jeez. How many power pack controllers are on the layout? Well, Rick, that depends. And the reason why I say that is for the yard, for this particular yard, there's actually two. One that runs the yard, one that runs the track power in the yard, and the other side of it, it's an MRC Tech 2. Yeah. It's a full power 2800 that I have running the Beauville yard. One part of it runs the track, the other one is strictly for the motor for the turntable. Now, if I put this layout into show mode, where it just runs loops, there's a power pack that sits underneath the dispatcher station, which is, well, you know what I can do here? Hold on. Sorry if I'm shaking this too much. Like I said, I'm really old school here. Here we go. Put a little light on the subject. This is the dispatcher station. And what it is over here on the left, you have, this here is the power pack for show mode. So I can come down here, if I just want to run trains, I turn this power pack on, flip all the switches over here, and on the layout, and put it into show mode, and I can run it from this power pack. If I'm in operations mode, this power pack is off, and as you can see, the switches are into ops mode, which means that they're being run, it's being run from the layout. Now, on the layout, I've actually got two more power packs that actually run the railroad right now. And eventually I'll be getting or putting together some sort of a handheld unit, so that you'll actually be able to follow the trains from Richmond or Harrisburg and be able to follow them all the way back up. Ray's more skilled than me. He's at least got trains running when they want to. They were really being fickle this afternoon, let me tell you. That's one of the reasons why they're not running at the moment, because they're just being a real pains in the butt. I was hoping I was going to have some stuff running in the background, but no. Yeah, everybody's kind of gotten me on that one. Is that a V? That is a it's a VCR on one side, the DVD player on the other. Now, you can ask me, why is it that's down here? Well, that's because some of my old model railroading videos are on VCR tape and some of them are on DVD. And I kind of figure if I was going to have an operation session or have folks over that are actually into model railroading, you know, I could go ahead and fire that thing up and we could go back and watch some of the more nostalgic stuff from the 80s and 90s when Model Railroad Magazine and Alan Keller first got started in doing their video production stuff, which is actually going to be somewhat helpful to me coming here once I get to a point where I'm ready to start doing scenery, because there's a lot of information on those DVDs and VCR tapes about how to do scenery. Not that there isn't on YouTube, but I can go ahead and I can take something from the VCR and take something from the DVD and take something from YouTube, throw it all together and go, oh, there's mine. So now I wouldn't ask you. In the gutter, in the gutter. I tell you, in the gutter. Sheesh. Better make sure you cut enough beer to make it a kegerator. After what I saw up at Steamtown last year, yeah, you're probably right. So, that was one of the things we were talking about in the very beginning, too, is this bar station is going to become the dispatcher station as well. And one of the things I actually mentioned, or I actually had running and sidetrack Sunday number 3, was I figured out how I'm going to have the dispatcher communicating with the yard masters at Richmond and Harrisburg. Yeah, exactly, Anthony. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or the youngest kid in the house. That was me for a while. Then I had 2 younger brothers, so I didn't have to worry about it anymore. You just kick them in the rear to go change channels. Anyway, I figured out how I'm going to have the dispatcher talk to the yard masters at Richmond and Harrisburg, and that's going to be over walkie-talkie. This layout, as most folks know, is 36 feet by 8 feet. It's 36 feet down the back end and 8 feet coming towards me. So this, when you look at this from the perspective of Beauville, from where we're sitting to the wall back there is 8 feet. It's actually a little bit more than that because I left a 3-foot buffer between the layout and the wall, and then there's actually a 3-foot buffer between the bar and the layout. So there's actually 6 extra feet there. And then, going down there, like I said, down the back side or the unfinished, the unscenic side of the layout is 36 feet. Hey, Dave, Crooked River and Eastern, welcome aboard. My grandparents had a TV on a wooden cabinet with no TV remote. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that back in the day when the TVs were actually a piece of furniture. Somewhere I think I still have a picture that has one of the high fidelity units that my grandparents had that was literally looked like a buffet. That's how big the thing was. Anyway, off topic, but hey. How far is the fridge from where I'm sitting? About 6 feet. Now that's a little bit more of a question. That Sparky, that's around the corner. the bathrooms are around the corner. And behind me is the stairs that go up to the first floor. So the railroad is in the basement. Oh, yeah, yeah, Grandpa. I think we're all starting to show our age to some of these youngins in here. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Actually, Rick, this is not a wet bar. Believe it or not. Do we have to set up an exercise bike? No, I don't have to set up a bike to get power to the railroad. Oh boy. Sheesh. We have Betamax. I think my father actually rented those once or twice, and then we went over to the VCRs, and that was the end of that. Oh, see, Anthony's already going ahead and one up me, man. He's got a layout with a wet bar. Mine's a dry bar. ready to be. Oh man. Oh, brother Jerry. Sheesh. Oh, man. Make your pet guest pedal the power of the railroad. Hey, that's one way to save on electricity. Oh, man. Yes. Yes, Heath, he does. That was awfully impressive. That was awfully impressive. See, that's one thing that Sparky's shed doesn't have. I don't think he's got running water out there. See, now we're going to pick on Sparky's shed. uh-huh. You know what, Dwayne? What was funny is I got done last night and I went upstairs and I told the wife, I said, I can't imagine why I'm, I can't imagine why I'm so sore. I said the only thing I've been doing was operating the railroad for the last 2.5 hours. I went ahead and I pulled out my cell phone. I had gone 11,300 or what was it, 11,900 some odd steps. I'd gone like 4 miles. I think is what it was. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. I walked 4 miles basically yesterday, 11,179 steps. No water, but he's got special water towers. Oh boy. We got Grandpa started now too. Yes, Sparky does have trains running. He's trying to catch back up to me. That's what it is. That's what it is. He's trying to catch back up to me. Although I still can't figure. Hey, Sparky. I'll ask you that one later. I'm not going to do that on here. I'm still trying to figure out the whole purpose of that third level that's 7 feet off the floor. But that's something we can talk about for another time. I don't want to get too far sidetracked. See, trains are good for your health. Absolutely. when you go ahead and you walk 4 miles. Gee. Hey, Georgia Sunbelt. Welcome aboard, Anthony. We've got another Anthony. Schuylkill Valley's in as well. I didn't catch you when you stepped in, sir. Evening. You know, if you shake your phone, it counts as steps, and those apps are accurate. Well, I'd say it was pretty close. I'd say that one was pretty close. Sightseeing. I got you, Sparky. Now I was just wondering. I wasn't sure what the. I knew what the other two. I mean, that was really cool the other night when you had that. When you had your GoPro on there and you could follow the train from the top all the way down and all the way back up. That was neat. I don't think I've ever. I know I've seen that done, but I don't think I've ever seen anything like yours with that setup. That was cool. Anthony Dodge, meet Anthony from the Georgia Sunbelt. Anthony is one of, actually, I don't know if Joe Rader's still in here, but Hot Rod Rodney, Joe Rader, myself, and Georgia Sunbelt all live in the same state, a little bit of ways apart, but I mean, actually, Joe and I are fairly close in distance, but Georgia Sunbelt, Anthony, he's down in southern Maryland, and Hot Rod Rodney is actually out in western Maryland. So, once things clear up a little bit, we're going to have to congregate. Yeah, it did. I think I'd have some sort of protection up there, Sparky. Oh man, that was that was insane. I tell you what, I'd like to see. I would have liked to have seen what mine looked like, but unfortunately, like I said, the phone wouldn't make it underneath the bridge, so I got to get myself a GoPro, I guess. that was that was neat. That was a neat perspective. Like I said, I tried that the one night and forgot that I've got these two bridges sitting over here on the gorge, and the phone won't make it past them. Although I guess if I went ahead and started the train on this side and went all the way around and came back, that would work too. Yeah, it's going to be easy to get to Strasburg, Joe. Absolutely. That absolutely. I'm still hoping and keeping my fingers crossed that we could either do that or when the Timonium, hopefully that the train show can hit Timonium this fall. But we'll see. And I know that yeah, there's some other folks that are fairly close here too. Jerry and Rick, I think, are pretty much. I know they're up in PA. I think they're almost neighbors up there. And then, of course, from where I'm at, they're not that far. But yeah, I mean, this is. It was funny. Anthony, the model train outsider, was telling my wife about what you were talking about with being over in Germany. Like I said, my side of the family is from Germany. Her side of the family is from Germany. Her side, her grandfather actually came over in '57. My great grandparents came over in the late 1800s. So, um, but when you were talking about the different places and such, and I said, I said, here it is. I said, Miss Anthony's out in Ohio. I said, I would have never known that we had so many model railroaders within, within a. I mean, it's not a long distance, but it's fairly close. And of course, model railer, if he's still in here, John, he's over in Jersey. So there's quite a few of us in within a few hours of each other. I know you're Dwayne, you're outside of Pittsburgh. So I mean, it's going to be. I mean, I'm hoping once things clear up and everybody can get back to somewhat normalcy, we can all kind of get together someplace and just hang out again. I had so much fun last year up in Steamtown and then down at the Horseshoe Curve. I know that Crooked River and Eastern Dave, he was there. Sparky was there. Uncle Wilmer. I haven't seen if Indian Head Railway is in here tonight. But Wilmer and his boys were there, and then Kay Flan, the rail fan, I know he was up there. Um, it's just a great group of folks. And that's the other thing too. If anybody here, and I know a lot of folks do follow Model Railroading Live, which used to be the YouTube Model Builders. Um, you know, um, Barry Rozier, he's over in Jersey, and Big Bill Graham is actually up in New York. So it's a nice, like I said, we're all, for the most part, there's a bunch of us in a fairly tight radius, which is really cool. Really cool. Yeah, Sparky, the conversations that went on there that Friday night and again on Saturday night were awesome. Just being able to sit there and shoot the breeze with a bunch of like-minded folks. I mean, and that's the thing with this community. And Anthony, I know you, I was trying to figure out how we may have crossed paths as far as YouTube goes, and I'm guessing that one of my subscribers is one of your subscribers. And like I said, Friday afternoon I did a refresh because I was looking for something to listen to, and your channel. I'm like, well, let me go ahead and see what's going on over here, and that's impressive what you got going on there, bud. That's really nice. That's really nice. Yeah, Rick. Well, yeah, I've been on a couple of excursion trains, but that's basically. I've actually never ridden Amtrak. I've ridden, oh, what the heck do they call it? The MARC train down here, which is a local commuter train that runs between DC and Baltimore. Yeah, I know, Georgia. I know, Anthony. I know I'm only 2 hours away. We keep talking about this, man. We once things clear up, man, we gotta get together. Man, delivery in Easton, Maryland. That's on the other side. I'm about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes, depending on which way I go and how much traffic there is. In fact, when we had talked about getting together for the YouTube meet and greet with Sparky this year, I had originally thought about commuting it. But then when I sat back and thought about being stuck in the car for 3 hours and then not sure when we were going to get done, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and find a hotel room up there. And then the wife decided she wanted to tag along with me. So we were going to make it a husband-wife getaway weekend, which is cool. So, you know, it would have been nice for her because I told her about the meet and greet last year, where Sparky's wife was down, and of course Ben from Creative Rails and his wife. Why can I not think of the guy's name from the N-Scale subdivision of the Union Pacific? Him and his wife came up from Panama. So, it was just a neat time. It really was, and it was like that's what it will boil down to. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Easton, PA. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I didn't know there was an Easton, PA. Roy Smith. There you go. Thank you. I couldn't remember. I don't know why I can't remember Roy Smith for some reason. That's an easy one to remember, and but yeah, I mean, just a great group of folks. There was another fellow, and I know I just saw you were talking about him the other night, Sparky, and I cannot think the young kid and his dad that were up there. I know they were in the process of rebuilding. Uh, um, oh man, I can't think. Bev is Ron Piskel. See, Sparky, your brain works a lot better than mine, bud. Mine is shot. I'm lucky. Yeah, Alex, there you go. Thank you. I'm lucky. I'm lucky if I remember what happened yesterday, and I know I'm not that much older than you are. And but we had that dinner. We did that the dinner train, not the train, but we had dinner in that diner car. That was cool too. That was really neat. But yeah, I mean, just a bunch of and Grandpa obviously was up here. He came all the way over from the left coast. Goes to show you what kind of pull Sparky's got. Grandpa came all the way from the left coast. Oh man, that's someplace else I'd like to go. I didn't know it was still there, but I'd love to go see Northlands. There is one other one, and if you guys look through my subscriptions, I'm subscribed to a site called Miniature Wonderland. They actually have a full-scale airport built in HO scale. So I'm not sure if any of the moderators can pull up the Miniature Wonderland and put their link in here, but that one there's another neat one. Northlands obviously is pretty cool, but if you want to talk about something that's done very prototypically, is this Miniature Wonderland over in Hamburg, Germany is unbelievable. Anthony, the Model Railroad Outsider, have you ever heard of that one? Oh, you've been to that one man. Daggone it. The only way I get to sit there and look at it is through YouTube. Ah. Oh, man. That layout is just flat awesome. Those the brothers that built that layout over there in Germany, that is just unbelievable. Roadside America and Cuts. I don't think I've ever heard. Oh, you know what? I have heard of Roadside America. In fact, that's on one of the DVDs I've got. I'll have to go check that out, Anthony. I will have to check that one out. Because like I said, I was watching Garrett's updates when they were building the airport, and that was just awesome. That thing was just flat awesome. Yeah, I heard that they were expanding. I heard that they were going to expand the miniature Wonderland. That's awesome. I mean, I know that the pandemic. I've seen a couple updates from them since the pandemic hit, but it's just that thing. That's one of my bucket lists. Yeah, he seems like it, Anthony. Like I said, from what I've seen on the website, he seems like a really nice fellow. Oh, really? Oh, that's right. Nate's doing something too, isn't he? He's doing something up at the EBT, up at the East Broad Top, which is really nice to see that they're bringing that back. I'm not sure if folks have been. I'm sure if they have, if they've been, if you follow the Tiagadon, um, um, yeah, sheesh, I can't think. I know his name's Nate. But the Tiagadon Railway, he's having a meet and greet up at the East Broad Top, and they just got operations going again over at the EBT. That one there is one of those trips I'd like to make, but I don't think I'm going to make that one. I don't think I'm going to make that this year. Just too many things going on. That kind of I know Sparky. It sucks with the way things are going, but you can always go ahead and plan for something next year and see what happens, right? Jason, this actually I'll let Sparky take this one because um, he actually started this a couple years ago, and I think they've done Steamtown once, and they were going to do Strasbourg. We were going to do Strasbourg back in May, and that fell through, obviously. But this here was something that Sparky had started putting together for us to go ahead and meet up. Hey, Sparky, last year up at Steamtown, we had what 100, or was it a little less than that? I don't remember what you said the numbers were for Steamtown last year. I know the first year you had like 25 or 50 or something like that showed up, and then I think last year you doubled it. And it was a great time. It really was. Got to meet Georgia Sunbelt up there. Obviously, met Sparky up there. Met Grandpa Rails up there. Met, I believe, Skullkill Valley was up there. Dave from the Crooked River and Eastern was up there. Nate from the Tiagadon was up there. Just a whole bunch of people. Roy Smith from the subdivision. He came up from Panama with his wife. They make it a summertime trip. He actually came up here to visit some family and so forth, and you know, with JP Videos Group 103. Yeah, it was a blast though. It was a blast. We had 96. Well, there we go. But I think Sparky, from all of us, obviously we really appreciate him pulling stuff like this together, and we've kind of talked about it. We talked about it up at Steamtown last year, what we were thinking about doing or what we wanted to try and do for this year, which is now going to become next year. And then, moving it around so that we could catch up with other folks. I'm sure sometime in the future we're probably going to maybe try and get out west and see Uncle or cousin Vinny. Um, maybe we can get out to the southwest and do that, and maybe even get down to the south and see some of the folks down there. But the one thing is it really, really, really having to find some place not only where there's a model railroad or model railroaders, but also have some sort of a prototype to go see or a museum to go see. Like we did up with Steamtown and then Horseshoe Curve, and then this year it would have been, or next year it'll be Strasburg, and just moving around the places like that. I know that there's other railroads out there. There's a couple of them. I know that there's the Durango and Silverton up in Colorado is one. I think there's one or two down in Utah. But I mean, just to get around and to see the different sites and to be able to catch up with different people. You know, oh, come on, Rick, it ain't that bad. Oh, but yeah, I mean, like I said, me and the wife were planning on making Strasburg a husband-wife getaway weekend. Along with hanging out with the railroaders, but it was going to be just a way to get away from the two pooches and so on and so forth. But that's the other one, the Cumbres and Toltec. I know that's the other one that's up there. And I've heard of Todd Truster. Does he have a YouTube channel? Anybody? It's funny, Sparky, but I know that my daughter's boyfriend's grandparents actually live in Omaha, Nebraska, which isn't too far from um, the Bailey Yard. I'd love to go out there and see the Bailey Yard, but I know that that's probably closed to anybody. But anyway. Well, the other night, Rick, you were talking about letting the kids out and putting the dogs to bed. Yeah, yeah, Grandpa, the Bailey Yard in Nebraska. That I've seen pictures of that. I've heard the stories. That thing is just massive. What is it, 2,800 square miles or something like that? It's enough big enough to fit, or no, it's 2,800. You could fit 2,800 football fields into it. Or I don't know. The numbers are ridiculous. Train Freak, Cheyenne. Okay, I'll have to go check that out. I'm sure I probably already have him, but Bailey is so big you can't see it from one side. That's what I hear. Last last night, Rick put a diaper on a beer. Oh, brother. That would be a trip. Which one? The one to Cheyenne, Sparky? Because that's one of the things. I've only been out to the West Coast twice. Well, three times. If you really want to get down to it. Once when I was in the service, And then once when I went out there for an anniversary getaway, I went out to Las Vegas. Was out in Nevada, but when I was in the service, I was out in San Diego for what was it, 6 months? North Platte. Yeah, I knew it. I could think of it. I could picture it, but I couldn't. Things get stuck. They're here, but they won't go out. Like I said, it goes in one, comes out the other, but it just wasn't coming out there anyway. Hmm. Now, I was just sitting here thinking to myself, that'd be neat. If you could pull something, if we could pull something, or if you could pull something together like that, Sparky, I might be on board for that. Oh, really, Grandpa? Nice. Hmm. Jason's tweaking the tweaking things here. The SSW train freak. Oh man. Yeah, see that's the only thing. I mean, I know some stuff around here, but unfortunately, I don't have any ties to anything. Any ties that I would have have unfortunately long since gone. My wife's uncle used to work for the CSX up in Cumberland. Um, he used to. Yes, it was. Yes, it was Santa Fe Bob, and I actually have that one. That's how I know about it. Every time I watch that video, I go, oh, wow. But anyway, I was saying my wife's uncle used to work for the CSX out in Western Maryland. He used to be their crew driver. In other words, if they had to get a crew from one town to another, instead of using the train, they would call him up. He'd pick them up in a van, and he'd transport them from one town down to wherever they were needed. So, that was unfortunately, like I said, that I've lost. That he passed away quite a few years back. But one of the things he did give me before he passed away was actually a map in Maryland of the CSX, which I thought was really cool. I've got a system map, at least. Well, it's probably about 15 years old now, but I had a system map of the CSX in Maryland. So kind of gives you an idea. It kind of gives me ideas as to, or was giving me ideas as to how things lay out. But I want one of those trips where you get on a train with a bunch of old Pullman passenger cars and you go through on a trip through the U.S. Wow, Heath, that would be a tall order. Rodney, there's a buddy of mine that I used to work with. His brother actually is a part of the Foul Players, which I believe is on the cast. I think. But or one of those that's out there in Western Maryland. I don't know if he does it if it's on the Western Maryland Scenic or if it's on the cast. But Mike Barton does one of those murder mystery trains. Like I said, he happens to be one of the guys I work with brother. Um, Next big meet and greet will be next May now in Strasbourg. Yeah, unfortunately, with the way things went this year, Sparky, it's a shame, but you know what they say, everything kind of happens for a reason. I'm sure there was a good reason why things fell apart, but we'll never know. We will never know. Yeah, that's true, Sparky. I mean, Pennsylvania was just a huge hub. Um, for railroading. Well, not only that, but on the East Coast, it's one of the largest states, at least one of the largest northern states. So, you had, and the Pennsylvania had some of the biggest shops. They built their own locomotives. Case in point, the GG1. They built their own steam. I mean, they did everything. And, that's probably one of the reasons why there's so much of the rail history left around. We should have a meet and greet the night of January 30th at the Amherst train show. I'm guessing that one there is something else that I'd like to do one of these years is get up to Amherst. I hear a lot about that. I know there's a few people that have been up there. So yeah, and true, Rodney. Hagerstown was another big one. Hagerstown, Cumberland. I've been to Cumberland, and the shops and the rail um, presence in Cumberland is just unbelievable. Well, the biggest thing with Western Maryland is you had all the coal. That was coal country. That was coal country out there. I mean that's where it all came from. Um, that's the reason why the Western Maryland was so profitable for so many years. The same thing with the Pennsylvania, but once people started switching over to gas and everything else, that kind of dropped. Yeah, Sparky, I can see where Amherst could be a problem with the weather. Yep. PA, Western Maryland, Norfolk, and Western B&O. Yeah, absolutely, Rodney. Absolutely. I mean, that was a big hub out there. That's a shame, Jason. We have, and I'm sure that anybody that's familiar with Model Railroad Magazine and the Dream Plan Build videos, there was a video done of a fellow by the name of, now it just went, she's a whiz, Howard Zane. Howard Zane used to run the train shows that run up in Timonium, Maryland, which is 10 minutes down the road for me. And he, a couple of years ago, I think his health isn't doing well, and he actually turned around and gave it to his partners to run. And they still do about, up until this year, they were doing about 4 shows a year. Joe Rader, if he's still in here, knows about it. They just sent out a email. I guess it was about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Um, that take it easy, Jerry. Um, that they were talking about, if anybody would show up for a show in October. And, overwhelmingly, it was like 39% of the folks were like, yeah, they would be there. There were still a bunch of folks that were on the fence and so on and so forth. So, they were putting out a feeler to find out if number one, if anybody would want to go, but to try and see if they would get any interest on sponsorship too, to see if any of the vendors were still going to show up or not. So I don't know if that show is going to happen in October or not. I haven't seen any more about it, but Amtrak had passed through Hagerstown too one time due to a derailment or something. Okay. That's a shame, Jason. That is a shame. You know what, Georgia? Do you know what, Georgia? That is something. Like I said, that I'd love to do is get up there and because I hear so much about Amherst. I've heard so many people talk about it, wanting to go up there. You know, I'd like to do it too, but I've never been up there, Heath. Sorry to say. Yeah, I was thinking that, Joe. I don't know if they've got enough to do it or if things are going to be open enough by then. You know, I like I said, I'm hoping, but maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. I need parts. Hey Anthony, after you flew up there, were your arms tired? Sorry, I. Oh man, I'm bad. I tell you, it's been one of those days. On a lighter note, um, it'll it's going to show up in vlog 27. But I did have a I did. If anybody knows, obviously one of the other reasons why I'm wearing my Pennsylvania shirt tonight. Um, wow, that stinks, Joe. Man. Okay. Okay. Oh well, so much for that. Anyway, on to something a little bit different. One of the other reasons why I'm wearing my Pennsylvania shirt tonight was the fact that if anybody followed me earlier this year, my Pennsylvania GG1 that I've had for 25 years or more, actually, it's probably been close to the 30, stopped running. The motor burnt up on it. And it was funny during my operation session last night. I actually had another locomotive that I was running that wasn't running well. Had a bad when I found out this afternoon had a bad gear in it. But when I opened up the shell and I looked in, I'm like, wait a second, that motor looks awfully familiar. Thanks, Steve. I would have opened up this other locomotive, I'm like, wait a minute, that motor looks awfully familiar. Well, as it would turn out, the F unit that I had that went south on me gear wise had the same motor as the Pennsylvania GG1. So I did a motor transplant this afternoon, and my GG1, I'm happy to say, is back up and running. Hooray! So both electric locomotives that I've got are running again. Um, the it's an older model, Jason. It's a 4M, which I believe was an offshoot or it was a part of Mahino or Mahano. Um, it was the same company as AHM. We're talking this thing is like I said, 30 years old. You know, so yeah, I can take the F unit, and make it into a dummy. Well, the F unit was a conglomeration to begin with. It was an old Williams F unit shell on top of an AHM frame. So yeah, Anthony Dodge did. Yeah, the cool transplant surgery is a modern miracle. So no, mine is not the blackjack. Mine is red. It's the Tuscan. Is it DC? No, Dave, it's not. Sorry, Sparky, it's not. Oh, really? Hmm. I might have to keep that in mind, Jason. I might want to keep a spare one on hand in case this one goes south. But it was nice. Like I said, I got video of it running with my Bachmann E33, which is a Bachmann Spectrum, and that one there is pushing That one there is pushing, I think, 10 years old. So, yeah, well, I'm going to have to tell you the truth, Jason. If you followed me or if you've taken a look at some of the videos that I've got, I don't throw anything away either. No point in having that on. that did me absolutely no good. But yeah, I was just happy to have the my GG1 running again. That when that one went up earlier this year, that really hurt the living heck out of me. You've got a Penline GG1 from the early '50s. Oh man, if it's anything like the some of the Penline stuff that I've seen, I've got a couple pieces that I picked up from a friend of mine, and their gearing system is rather interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anything done like that. In fact, you know what? Oh, it's time for a little show and tell. Let me turn that off. That's not the one. That's the one. This isn't the one I thought it was. Never mind. Yeah, it's fine. My fault. I thought that the locomotive I was thinking of was a Penline. It wasn't. That one there was another manufacturer. This one here, this is an old Penline. I'm not sure how old this is, but it kind of reminds me of the Tyco with the way that they did things at one point, where the motor is inside one of the trucks. And the only way to get at this, actually, I take that back. Oh, this is like the late Revell and the early Lifelike. There's a gear that's exposed right behind the truck here. Needless to say, this will never see the layout. The reason being is the fact that when you've got an exposed gear like that, you're asking for trouble. You know, to keep that lubricated, you're going to be spreading lubrication all over the rails, and that's not a good thing. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I picked one up. Heath, I love the look of the GG1. There's one other one that I want to pick up, and that's Little Joe, that the Great Northern had. Talking about something here. Oh, they're talking about the Athearn locomotives and converting them to DCC. Yeah, believe it or not, I think the old Athearn blue boxes were easy to. They're fairly easy to go ahead and convert. The only thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you isolate the motor from the frame. That's the biggest thing. You know, that's one of the things that eventually I am going to attempt, Eve, is the fact that I am going to electrify the Beauville and Newtown, so that way I can run both my E33 and my GG1. Nice. The Centipede's another one. The only thing hey, Georgia, I forgot which. I've heard of the Centipede. I don't think I've ever actually seen one. but I've heard of the Centipede. But Little Joe is unique. I think that one there is the one that kind of looked like a pair of F units butted up against each other back to back, and they had the pentagraphs on it with the almost what looked like a GG1 frame underneath. Oh, Heath, come on now. I tell you what, better part, well, not better part, but some of the stuff that's on this layout, that's Athearn. And it's the old Athearn blue box. That is old Athearn blue box. I tell you what, for the most part, that stuff is darn near indestructible. And the other one that I like to use, the other manufacturer which you can't get anymore because they went out of business, was, believe it or not, but Mantua. Later on in life, man, those Mantua locomotives were a beast. Take it easy, Sparky. Have a good one, my friend. But yeah, the Athearn blue box and the Mantua, the Mantuas are nice locomotives. Anytime, Sparky. Anytime, Dave. Anytime. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked the Athearn units. Obviously, there is some stuff on here that most folks would shy away from. I've got I've got AHM running on here. I've got old Lifelike non-proto stuff running on here. I've got the older Bachmann pancake motors that still run. Take it easy, Skullkill. We'll talk to you, sir. But, like I said, I dabble and I love messing with some of this older stuff. It drives me nuts, but I do like mess. I like to tinker. And I do have Tyco. I mean, I think I may have shown you this one before, Heath, but if not, I'll bring it back out. Hold on. Trust me, folks, there's probably very few locomotives out there that are older than this. This is actually a die-cast metal Tyco. This came from the early 50s. I've actually got the cars that belong with it too, and this was back when Tyco was doing hook and loop. Again, if you notice, this here's got an exposed gear, but the nice thing is this one here is sitting vertical. So if it's going to drop any lubrication, it drops it on the middle of the track, which is fine. It's not spraying it all over the place. No, this does not smoke. This is a non-smoking unit. This belonged to my father. That's how old it is. And I've still got the original boxes with it too. And like I said, it was a 4 or a 3-car set. It was 2 flat cars, a gondola car, and a caboose. So Tyco Super Chief, got it for Christmas, 69, stopped playing with it in 71, didn't touch the train again until 2015. Nice. See, that's the other thing. Does this? Oh yes, this will still run. I don't run it often because you can't get parts for it, and that's one of the reasons why I don't run it. I'll take it over to the bench. I'll put power to it. I'll make sure it's lubricated. Let it run for a little bit. Turn it off. Put it back on the shelf. I don't run it. Like I said, it mainly due to age. But it does run and it pulls. I mean, the whole thing is with this. The whole thing is with this whole train, with the exception of the gondola car, is die-cast metal. The gondola car is die cast underneath with Bakelite for the sides, and the caboose is also Bakelite with a metal frame. Yeah, this thing probably weighs a good, maybe quarter to a half pound, and it's only a 040 switcher. I mean, it's like I said, it's an it's a beast. I've got some other antiques sitting back there too. I've got it, which I think I showed on a couple of videos actually. Bakelite, where's that? Early plastic, very early plastic. I've also got a Revell engine that has that's rubber band driven. It's actually got an electric motor, and then the motor actually turns a rubber band that goes down and turns the gears to turn the wheels. So yeah, that's another antique. That one there's, I think I looked that one up. I think that was 56, 57, somewhere in that era. Like I said, I've got some of the stuff that my father had when he was a kid, and I'm not getting rid of it. I don't run it. I've got an old Barney locomotive as his too. Yeah, well, okay, but here we go. Here we go. See, now you're where they be taking the archives. I don't know what I do with it. Huh. Huh. Oh, no, I know what I did with it. I know what I did with it. I was messing with myself here. I'd forgotten that I had actually put this locomotive that I was going to use for a white flag extra. That's an old Varney red box. Again, the vertical gear. This does not smoke either. So, but this is from the 50s. An old 040 Docksider. Well, since we were going into the Wayback Machine, yes, Revell actually dabbled in HO scale locomotives at one point in time. Yeah, the screw that holds the whole locomotive together. It goes clean through the frame and up through the stack. In fact, if you look close enough in the stack, you can actually see the bottom of the screw. Oh yeah, this thing is a blast to watch go across the tracks. It just says Anyway, this is that Revell locomotive. This here, like I said, the box I think is labeled for 50. I know on here some places a thing on date. I've seen it before. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the wrong part of the box. That's why. 1957 is this guy. Now, the interesting thing with this is in the back. It's got a fly. It's got the flywheel, but it's. I've called this a clutch. Somebody else called it something else. But there's a rubber band here that actually feeds down through the trucks, aka like the early Atherons. The only difference is this is just a single drive. Yeah, the old paint scheme. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure there, Heath, if you had seen that one, but yeah. And this thing growls. That was one of the things that somebody had brought up a few videos back, or somebody else was talking about the fact the old Athearn, or I'm sorry, the old AHM locomotives with that vertical that vertical motor that they had, for the BL2s and the C liners. The only thing you had to do was just give them a little bit of power. You don't need a sound locomotive with those. It just bounces off the inside of the frame. But yeah, I mean, they just sit there and they just growl. It is so cool to listen. It's like, that. Well, when I was younger, I thought that's what they were supposed to sound like, and then I got a hold of an after locomotive. I'm like, it's not making any noise. Well, with the exception of my SD40-2 that likes to make noise, but for the most part, they don't make noise. Yeah, it is very true, Heath. Very, very, very true. Well, no, but the thing is, and of course, if you actually watch some of the beginnings of some of my newer videos, I tell people, if you're under 13, you don't need to be here. Not that I normally spout off, but every once in a while, hey, I'm an old sailor. Every once in a while, I might drop one or two. I try not to. I try to keep it clean, but it's like I was explaining to Anthony from the Model Railroad Outsider the other day. It's like, yeah, well, see, I'm also a bowler. So if my mind isn't in the gutter, my bowling balls are. So anyway, and that's one of the things, Heath, that I've really, really found. That's true too, Jason. Hey, look, I can grow old, but I refuse to grow up. I'll grow old. I am not growing up. I still play with trains. I'm 50 years old. I'm still playing with trains, and I'm loving every minute of it. But getting back to this, one of the things I'm finding with the way that I built this railroad is, especially with the passenger cars that have the pen line cars that have the metal wheels, which they're the only ones on my layout that actually have metal wheels. The sit there and listen to them going across this railroad is really neat because it sounds like it's a real railroad. You hear that every time one of those car wheels hits a joint, it's like tack 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 tack. It's like that. It's just cool. It's just really really cool. Yeah, unfortunately, Rodney, they don't. It's one of those things. Unfortunately, a lot of kids they want it now, 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 and this would drive them absolutely crazy. You know, but anyway, yeah, Grandpa, I know what you mean. My mind thinks it's 18. My body's wondering why I ain't dead yet. Oh, that's terrible. It's the truth, but it's terrible. Oh man, the things that I've done. You know what, Heath? I can agree with that. I know exactly where you're coming from. Oh man. Yeah, and that was one of the things, and I've mentioned this before too, Anthony. I've got now a 21-year-old daughter, and when my wife and I moved into our first house, which was a townhome, had a halfway decent sized basement. And I told her, I said, after my daughter was born that first Christmas, I said, I know she's young, hun. I said, but I've got something over at my mother's house that I think I want to bring over here and show her for Christmas because that's what my father did for me when I was younger. And she was like, well, what's that? I said, I've got a train layout. And she's like, she's not going to be into that. I says, I understand that she's only like 9 months old, but let's give it a shot. I want to see what happens. And my youngest brother and I, we got together. We went over to my mother's house in her basement, pulled up the 4x8 sheets of plywood and the 2x5, the 10 or 12 boxes of stuff, and put it in the back of his truck and my car, and we took it over to my townhome and put it in the basement. And that was October of '99. I finished up Christmas Eve of that year on that old layout, that old pike that we had. Christmas morning, when we took her down there after we got done with the other normal stuff, when we took her down there and I turned that layout on and the train started moving, her eyes got as big as saucers. And it was just, she was watching everything that was going on. And, unfortunately in 2001, we ended up moving, so I had to take it back down again. And it sat in my mother-in-law's basement because that's who we moved in with. My grandfather-in-law was older. He's the one that came over from Germany in '57. And he was getting to the point, he was getting up in age and couldn't be by himself. And, so we all moved in together with him. And yeah, I think it was like the second or third year, my daughter had actually mentioned something about where are the trains. Okay. So I went ahead and we put the trains back up. And when she got a little bit older, I'd say she was about maybe 8 or 9, maybe 10, we went ahead and we took everything apart. And her and I built the 13-foot by 11-foot layout that I had before I moved over here and built this thing. So she had been a part of it, but with her college studies and other, of course, other oh, what the heck am I looking for here? Other distractions, let's put it that way. She hasn't been down here that much to help me out. Would I like to have her come down here? Absolutely, but her studies are definitely a lot more important. And she actually surprised my wife and I on Friday. She called my wife and said, I need you to get Dad on the phone. And of course, I'm working. And of course, my wife's first thought is, why do you need Dad on the phone? What's wrong? So she brings the phone down and she said, okay, are you both there? And we're like, yeah, what's going on? She says, I got a letter in my email box from Towson University. I made the dean's list for the last semester. So I'm like, you know what? So, proud papa moment. But, I mean, that's what I mean. So her studies and things, I get it, so, but she knows what's down here and she knows that she can come down here and help me out at any time. Yeah, it is a big deal, Jason. To me, that was because I never did. The only reason why I ever would have been on the dean's list is for doing something wrong. That's one of the reasons why I was in the military, because I wasn't smart enough to get into college. Anyway, but, like I said, I mean, she knows she could come down here and help me out. And she's actually come down here a couple of times and helped me out with a couple minor things. I've actually had her come down here and help me out with just some ideas that I was tossing around in my head. And she'd be like, well, Dad, how about if you did it this way? And I'm like, okay, you got me. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. I appreciate that, sir. Um, it's that, but that's the kind of the thing. She can come down here and she can tell me, hey, Dad, what about doing it this way? Hey, if you thought of it. So she's got that same type of a brain. She can take a look at something and go, hey, what if we did this? And I'll just go, okay, you got me. Way to go, kid. No, I spent the first 3 years of my high school career in summer school. I actually squeaked by my senior year. I'm still not sure how I actually graduated, but I did. I was never the bad kid. I just didn't care. I just didn't see the point in it. And by the time I realized that, hey, dummy, you better start doing that, and I was like, well, that by that time it was too late. So I went ahead and was in the Navy for 4 years, and then I got out and went up to school in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for electronics, and then came out, and I've had the same job for the last, well, not the same job, I've been with the same company for the last 25 years. So, you know, it's funny, Anthony. My wife supports this because it is a hobby. She's just not into it. It was funny, and I've brought this story up once or twice before. It was funny to me. One year, I was going to go up to the Timonium train show, like I said, which is right up the street from me, in the fall, and I was going to have a bunch of my guys, a few of the guys that I know get together, and we were all just going to go up there. Well, at the last minute, they all backed out, and I was like, "Man, this really stinks. I really wanted to go." And she said, "I'll go with you," and I'm like, "Oh boy, what am I getting myself into?" So I said, "Okay, let's go, hon. We'll go up to the train show." So we get in the vehicle, we go up there, and we pay the fee to get in, which I think was like $5 or $10, whatever it is. And of course, right behind where the tables are to sign in, right behind that was an MTH bench. And of course, they had all their their high dollar DCC locomotives sitting out there. And of course, well, unbeknownst to me, I wasn't paying attention. She walks around the corner, and I'm sitting there putting my wallet away, and she's like, "Hi," and I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "What do you need?" She said, "Can you come here a minute?" And I'm like, "Sure." I walk around the corner the other way, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" She looks at me, and she looks at the prices on the locomotive. She looks back at me, and she goes, "You're not spending that kind of money in the basement, are you?" And I'm like, "No, I don't spend that kind of money on the stuff in the basement." So, but like I said, she does support it because it's a hobby, and that to me is, she knows where I'm at. I mean, where's Ray? He's down in the basement. Of course, my daughter always kids about the fact that if she ever gets married and has kids, she drops the kids off. She'll come back 2 days later and say, "Where are the grandkids?" "I don't know. They've been downstairs with their granddad the whole time." I haven't seen them. So, but it's funny because I've got a young niece and nephew that, in fact, they'll be down in 2 weeks. I'm hoping, that everything clears up and they're able to get down here. But they come down here, and this is where they stay. When I had the other layout, they were constantly pestering me. "When are we going to go down and see the trains? When are we going to go down and see the trains? When are we going to go down?" I'm like, "We got to finish eating dinner first, then we can go down and see the trains." So that's cool. It is giving it on to the next generations. Hopefully they'll take hold of it and be able to keep it going. But who knows? Yeah, my wife knows what I've spent too. You know that she knows what I've put into this. You know, over the years. I mean, she's asked me numerous times, and I've put things together so that she understands what's here. God forbid if something were to happen to me. You know, so she knows what's what. But you know, I hope it never comes to that. And really, in reality, what I'd like to have happen is if something did happen, it would go to my brother. So, but you know, we'll see what happens there. Yeah, I hear you. Take it easy, Joe. We'll see you. Take it easy. I'm actually going to go ahead and cut this. It's 10 o'clock. I've been at this for 2 hours. 2 hours is long enough. I'll get to get up and go to work, even though when I go to work, it's right around the corner. And trust me, it's the hardest 8 hours of my day is sitting there at that darn table, which is right next to the railroad, and looking over at the railroad, going, "Gosh darn it, I could be natty." Ask for a cab forward for the birthday. I hear you. I hear you, Jason. My train stuff is on eBay within a week after I'm gone. I have a feeling that's where some of my stuff's going to end up. So, you know what, folks? Dave Piper, I didn't know you were in here, sir. Good to see you. Everybody, I appreciate you joining and hanging out with me for the last 2 hours. Hopefully, it's been a good one. You all know the deal. Wait for the high ball. Green tracks ahead. Be safe. God bless. We'll catch you all next time. See ya. Oh, come on. I got to figure out how to